hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So as you all are all aware, we had started with the endocrine system in the last video, in which we have discussed in brief about the introduction to the endocrinology, which deals with the study of the different endocrine glands. Okay, so as you are all aware, there are two types of glands, the exocrine and the endocrine glands. So the glands which secrete their products directly into the interstitial fluid or into the bloodstream, thus such type of glands are known as the endocrine glands. Okay, so the study of all these glands and the related diseases and the treatment is known as endocrinology. And the glands, all the endocrine glands in the body, as well as the specialized tissues or cells which also secrete their hormones in the interstitial fluid, taken together comprise of this endocrine system. So we have also seen the classification of the hormone. What a hormone is? So it's a mediator, it's a chemical mediator which is released, it is produced at one particular place and it might produce its action in a distant target cells. So a specific hormone will act on a specific type of cell in the body and it may mediate certain effects in the body. So endocrine system deals with controlling various processes in the body. Okay, a wide variety of actions can be controlled. So we have seen the classification of these hormones. That is, there are certain water soluble hormones and certain lipid soluble hormones. Okay, so this is actually a chemical classification, but we have seen this is also a physiological classification, in that they act in a different way. That is, their mechanism of action, the mechanism of hormone action, it differs depending upon whether it is a water soluble hormone or whether it is a lipid soluble hormone. Okay, so we have seen that the different hormones, they produce a different type of responses, which will totally depend upon which hormone is released and on which target cell it is acting on. Okay, so a number of target cells are present in the body. These will respond differently to the same hormone. Okay, so a particular hormone may act on more than one type of target cells, right? Say for example, insulin, it can stimulate the synthesis of glycogen in the liver. Okay, so in the liver cells, what is the action? Synthesis of glycogen. Whereas the action, it differs in the adipose tissues. In the adipose cells, it is stimulating the synthesis of the triglycerides. So the actions of a particular hormone, same hormone, may vary depending upon the target cell onto which it is acting on. Okay, so this is one of the example. It's not that the hormone is involved only in the synthesis of a new substance. It may have a wide variety of actions. Say for example, it may change the permeability of a plasma membrane, or it may help in transportation, or it may stimulate the transportation of a substance, maybe into the cell or out of a particular target cell. It may even alter the rate of metabolic reactions. Various metabolic reactions which are taking place, their rate may be altered. Either it may be stimulated or it may be inhibited, or it may even cause the contraction of smooth muscles or cardiac muscles. So a particular hormone may have a wide variety, and the same hormone may produce a number of actions in the body. Okay, so for a particular hormone to produce these actions, we have seen the variety of actions which may be produced by a particular hormone. But for it to produce all these effects, it needs to first bind to its receptor, right? So, we have seen in the last video the concept of receptors for a particular hormone. We have seen that a specific type of receptors is present for a specific type of hormone, right? That is the reason why your hormone will identify and it will act only on the specific type of cells, right? It will not act on all the cells. We have seen that it is released into the blood, interstitial fluid. From here it will enter into the blood. Blood will carry the hormone throughout the body. But is it showing action on all the body cells? No, it is showing actions only on the specific body cells. Now, why it is happening? That's because a specific type of receptor is present for a particular type of hormone. A specific receptor which will identify this hormone, so that the hormone will produce its action only on specific target cells. Okay. So, the receptors for the lipid soluble hormones, we have seen that there are two types of hormones, lipid soluble hormones and the water soluble hormones. So, the receptors for these lipid soluble hormones, these are located inside the target cells, within the cell. So, your lipid soluble hormone has to enter inside the cell, right? If this is the cell, your hormone has to enter inside the cell. Whereas in case of water soluble hormones, the receptors are located on the surface, somewhere on the surface. Okay, so it is a part of plasma membrane. It's a plasma protein which is actually acting as a receptor. Okay, so depending upon the type of hormone, the mechanism of action is also variable. Okay, so let us talk about the action of lipid soluble hormones. So, let us see how exactly a lipid soluble hormone will produce its action. What are the steps which are involved over here? Okay, so these, as we have seen, this include the steroid hormones, the thyroid hormones, and a gas, that is the nitric oxide, is also a part of lipid soluble hormones, right? Okay, so they bind to their receptors which are located within the target cells. So, the receptor for this type of hormone, it is actually located inside the cell. So, let us see what are the different steps involved in the action produced by the lipid soluble hormones. Okay. So, as we have seen in the transportation of the hormone, we have seen a small concept called transportation of a particular hormone, right? It is carried by the blood, right, into the blood vessels. So, blood capillaries will take it to the different tissues. Now, in what form these hormones are transported? Yes, the water soluble ones. Water soluble, if your hormone is water soluble, will it not dissolve in the blood? Yes, because blood, it contains mainly the water, right, the blood plasma, main component is water. So, it is aqueous in nature, your blood, correct? So, water soluble hormones will dissolve very easily, but what we have seen about this lipid soluble hormones, they need transport proteins, right, they cannot dissolve into your blood. So, it is lipid in nature, right. So, it will not mix with your blood very easily. So, for that matter, transport proteins are available which actually help in transportation of these hormones, the lipid soluble hormones, into the blood. So, this is the transporter, right, this is the transporter. So, your hormone, it will actually be carried in the bound form, but what we have seen, 0.1 to 10% of this hormone is present in the free form as well, right. The free fraction which is present, it is 0.1 to 10%, right. So, this free form of the hormone can only cross the capillary membranes, right, to reach its target cell. This is your target cell, right, that is your target cell. which will contain the receptor. So first your hormone has to move out of these capillaries into the interstitial fluid. From here it will have to enter inside the cell, right? So it's only the free form which can cross the endothelial membrane, right? Can the bound form leave the blood capillaries? These are proteins, right? Proteins are large in size, so they cannot leave the blood capillaries. So it's the free hormone, the free fraction of the hormone which is available, that can leave the capillaries, enter into the interstitial fluid. From here it will enter inside the cells. And as this level decreases, what will happen? The bound form which is there, it will be released, it will be set free. Okay, so the first step in the action of lipid soluble hormones is to cross the blood capillary wall, reach the interstitial fluid. From here it will diffuse across the plasma membrane. This is your plasma membrane. It's a lipid bilayer, right? If you all can recall the structure of your plasma membrane, it is lipoidal in nature, right? It is made up of phospholipids. Okay, lipoidal, the bilayer of the lipids, right? Polar heads and the non-polar tails. These are arranged in the bilayer, right? The inside of the membrane is highly lipoidal in nature. And what about your hormone? It is lipid soluble hormone, right? So isn't that an advantage? So can it cross the membrane? Yes, it can cross the membrane very easily. Because it is lipid soluble in nature, it will easily diffuse across this plasma membrane, which is lipoidal in nature, so that it will enter into these cells. So this is the first step of the action of a lipid soluble hormone. Now once inside the target cell, where the receptors are located for your hormone, the receptors are actually located either within the cytosol or the nucleus. Okay, so this hormone which has entered the cell now, it will now bind to its receptor. Now where is the receptor located? In this case it is located inside the nucleus. This is your nucleus, right? And that's the receptor. So the hormone has now entered inside the cell. From here it will enter into the nucleus and get bound to the receptor to form the activated receptor hormone complex. So this activated receptor hormone complex in turn will alter the gene expression. So DNA, it stores the information, right, in the form of genes for certain protein synthesis, right. So either binding of your hormone to these receptors, it will either turn the specific genes on or it may turn it off. So that either the synthesis of some new proteins will take place or it will inhibit the synthesis of some new proteins within the cell. Now that will depend upon what signal this hormone is bringing, whether to produce a new protein or whether to inhibit the synthesis of a new protein. So accordingly it will act on the DNA. Okay, so as in this particular case, this hormone has brought a signal of protein synthesis. So what will happen? The DNA transcription will take place and the messenger RNA will be formed, mRNA. Okay, so from the DNA, it's a template, right? Each strand will act as a template for the synthesis of mRNA. Okay, so you all must be aware of the protein synthesis, right? So the codons, they will code for the specific type of amino acids, right? So this particular signal from the DNA, it will be transcribed onto the mRNA. So new messenger RNAs will be formed. So this will leave the nucleus and will enter into the cytosol. So this mRNA, it directs the synthesis of specific proteins on the ribosome. That's a ribosome, right? So now this signal which is brought by the mRNA, this will be read by the ribosomes and it will result in the protein synthesis. The 3 codons, they code for one amino acid, right? So accordingly the transfer RNA will bring in one particular amino acid at this particular site and protein synthesis will take place. Okay. So new proteins which are synthesized, they will alter the cell's activity. So as a result of this formation of new proteins, some functions of the cells may get altered. So a particular response will be produced in the response to the hormone. Okay, so whatever signal this hormone is bringing in, that function will be carried out by the newly formed protein. So likewise the protein synthesis may also be inhibited by this particular specific hormone. Okay, so this is how the action of the lipid soluble hormone will take place. Now coming to the action of the water soluble hormones. So as we have seen that water soluble hormones, they can be easily dissolved into the blood, right, due to their water solubility. So the hormones like amines, we have seen catecholamines and all, peptide hormones, there are protein hormones and eicosanoid hormones. So these are not lipid soluble in nature, right, they are water soluble in nature. So that is the advantage which helps it to get transported in the blood very easily. They can even cross the capillary wall very easily. But what about the plasma membrane? Can they cross this plasma membrane? No, because they are water soluble in nature, so they cannot cross this plasma membrane. As these hormones cannot cross the lipoidal plasma membrane, their receptors are actually located in the plasma membrane itself. So the integral transmembrane proteins in the plasma membrane actually function as the receptor. So you must have studied about the proteins which are present in the plasma membrane. There are some which cross the entire thickness of your plasma membrane, right. So such type of proteins are known as integral proteins. So these will act as the receptor for the water soluble hormone because they cannot cross this lipoidal bilayer. Okay, so this hormone will act as a first messenger. Now this signal which is brought by your hormone, it gets transferred towards the interior of the cell, right. Your hormone cannot cross this membrane. So there should be some mechanism which is available which transfers this information inside the cell, because whatever changes are taking place, they will take internally, right. So there should be some mechanism which is available. So that is made possible by the formation of something called as second messenger. So your hormone, it will act as a first messenger. So it is bringing some message, right, over here. So it is transferred to this receptor, it is stimulating this receptor, and according to what signal is brought by this hormone, this signal is then transferred to one more substance which is formed inside the cell, and that is known as the second messenger. So your hormone which is acting as a first messenger, it leads to formation of one more substance within the cell, that is the second messenger. In most of the cases it is cyclic AMP, or it is also known as CAM, cyclic adenosine monophosphate. Okay, so let us discuss step by step the mechanism of the water soluble hormone. So as we have seen earlier, water soluble hormones, it can easily cross the capillary wall, reach the interstitial fluid. From here it will bind to the exterior surface of the receptor which is present in the plasma membrane of the target cell. So your water soluble hormone is acting as a first messenger. So this information, it gets transferred to one more type of protein which is generated inside the cell. Okay, so this hormone receptor complex, it activates one more type of protein inside the cell, that is known as a G protein. Now, this activated G protein in turn will activate another enzyme known as adenylate cyclase or adenylyl cyclase. Okay. So, this particular activated enzyme, now what is the role of this enzyme? Adenylate cyclase means what? This particular enzyme catalyzes the reaction of converting the ATP into CAMP. So, generation of CAMP will take place inside the cell. So, this particular enzyme, its activity is towards the intracellular phase. Okay, so it will catalyze the reaction which occurs in the cytosol. So, inside the cell, the ATP will get converted into CAMP, which actually is acting as the second messenger. Okay, so now whatever information is brought by a hormone, it has got transferred to the second messenger. Now, this second messenger, that is the cyclic AMP, this in turn activates one or more protein kinases. Now, this is one more type of enzyme which is present towards the interior of the cell. It may be present into the cytosol or it may be bound to the plasma membrane. So, this protein kinase, this enzyme actually is catalyzing the reactions of phosphorylation. So, it phosphorylates the different proteins which are present within the cell by utilizing the ATP. ATP, as you all are all aware of, adenosine triphosphate. It has 3 phosphate groups, right. So, one of the phosphate groups from this ATP is utilized for phosphorylation of several proteins in presence of this enzyme protein kinase. Okay. So, the fourth step is this particular activated protein kinases phosphorylates one or more cellular proteins. Okay. So, as you can see over here, this protein kinase has got activated. Now, who activates this enzyme? It is the CAMP which is activating the protein kinase. Now, this activated protein kinase in turn is phosphorylating these proteins which are present within the cell. So, this protein is now phosphorylated, right. There is a phosphate group on this protein. From where the phosphate group will come? What is the source? Yes, it is the ATP. So, ATP, it gets converted to ADP, adenosine diphosphate. So, one phosphate has got transferred to this particular protein. So, as a result of this phosphorylation, certain proteins might get activated or certain proteins might get inactivated. Okay, so, these phosphorylated proteins in turn will cause certain reactions to take place inside the cell. So, within the cell certain reactions may be taking place, which in turn will result in the physiological responses characteristic of this particular hormone. So, there are a number of types of these protein kinases which are present, which are specific for a particular action. Say for example, there may be a particular protein kinase that might trigger the glycogen synthesis. When this protein kinase is activated, it will result in glycogen synthesis. There may be another type of protein kinase which may result in breakdown of the triglycerides. There may be another type which may promote the protein synthesis. So, likewise a number of types of protein kinases are available which might catalyze a particular reaction. So, also it may also result in inhibition of certain proteins as well. Say for example, certain kinases may result in the inactivation of the enzyme. As a result of this, glycogen synthesis may stop. So, inactivation of the enzymes required for the glycogen synthesis will take place. As a result of this, inhibition of this synthesis may take place. So, certain proteins may get activated or certain proteins may get inactivated. Now, once these actions are produced by a particular hormone, so whatever hormone it binds over here, it will send some signal which will result in some output over here, right. So, after some time what will happen? There is an enzyme called as phosphodiesterase. This will inactivate this CAM. So, whatever actions are produced by these hormones, these are mainly due to what? Production of the second messenger CAMP, right. So, once the response is done, there is an enzyme called phosphodiesterase which will result in hydrolysis of this CAMP. So, once the CAMP concentration will reduce, protein kinase activation which takes place, that will come to an halt. As a result of this, what will happen? Will the phosphorylation of the protein take place? No. So, as a result of this inhibition of the phosphorylation of proteins, the further response also will come to an halt. So, this is the way by which the response may get terminated. Otherwise, what will happen? Continuous CAMP, if it is available, this response will go on taking place, right. So, that is also not advisable. So, there should be something which should turn off this particular process, correct. So, it will come to an halt till a new hormone will come and bind over here. Okay. So, this is how the action of the water soluble hormone will take place. Okay. So, there are a number of hormones which are utilizing this particular mechanism. Say for example, the ADH, thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, glucagon, epinephrine, hypothalamic releasing hormone. So, these act by increasing the synthesis of the CAMP by activating the adenylate cyclase. Whereas, there are certain hormones which decrease these levels of CAMP. So, they act by decreasing the level of the cyclic AMP, such as the growth hormone inhibiting hormone. So, this is one of the important second messenger which is synthesized within the cell, which will carry the signal. Apart from CAMP, there are of course other second messengers also, like calcium ions, CGMP, that is cyclic guanosine monophosphate. Apart from that, inositol triphosphate, IP3 it is known as, and diacyl glycerol, that is DAG, IP3 DAG pathway may also be involved. Okay, so, a particular hormone may result in formation of a particular second messenger, which in turn will carry out the physiological responses. Okay, so, these are the mechanisms of action of the lipid soluble as well as water soluble hormones. Now, there is a small concept called as control of hormone secretion. So, before starting with the actual endocrine glands, let us see how exactly the hormone secretion takes place. Okay, so, actually the release of hormone will take place in short bursts, that is a small amount of hormone will get released into the bloodstream. Okay, so, whenever the endocrine gland is stimulated, it will release the hormone more frequently. So, more frequent bursts of release of hormone will take place. So, thereby increasing the amount of hormone in the blood. When there is absence of this stimulation, the blood level of hormone will reduce. Okay, now, there should be something which is regulating this particular secretion, right. So, overproduction or underproduction of a particular hormone will be avoided. Otherwise, what will happen? Excessive hormone may be released, or less than what is required amount of hormone may be released. So, in order to avoid this, the hormone secretion can be regulated by three mechanisms, that is the signals from the nervous system. Say for example, the nerve impulses reaching the adrenal medullae regulate the release of epinephrine, or a particular change in the chemical in the blood, say for example blood calcium levels, it may regulate the secretion of parathyroid hormone, or other hormone may also regulate release of a particular hormone. Say for example the hormones from anterior pituitary, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone, it stimulates the release of cortisol by the adrenal cortex. So one hormone may also regulate the release of another hormone. So as and when we discuss the different types of endocrine glands, we will see how exactly the release of the hormone is controlled. Sometimes the feedback mechanism are involved, maybe negative feedback mechanism. If the level of hormone is high, it will inhibit the gland to release the hormone, or a positive feedback mechanism may take place. Say for example during childbirth, oxytocin hormone, it stimulates the contraction of the uterus, and these uterine contraction in turn will stimulate the release of more and more oxytocin. So this is actually a positive feedback mechanism. Okay. So this is to do with the mechanism of the hormone action. We have seen how the water soluble and the lipid soluble hormones act, and the control of the release of hormones. So this is a reference for my presentation. Thank you for watching.